Good evening. I'd like to call the Community Redevelopment Agency Budget Workshop of August 13th to order. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner T. Davis. Commissioner Botel.
Here.
Commissioner Miller Anderson.
Present.
Vice Chair Hubbard. Chair Davis Johnson.
Here.
Also present is Scott Evans, Interim Executive Director, Michael Haygood, General Counsel, Mayor Thomas A. Masters.
I'd like to just take a moment of silence and stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge offered by Mayor Masters.
Shall we pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Evans, you may proceed.
Good evening. This is the second workshop for the Community Redevelopment Agency Board for our budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. The budget review schedule, our first workshop was on May 23rd. So tonight is our second workshop. And tonight we will review our capital projects as well as our economic redevelopment initiatives that we propose to incorporate into the budget.
Vice Chair Hubbard.
On August...
One moment. Commissioner Botel,
Evans, Interim Executive Director. I'm sorry.
we need you to mute your phone, please.
Mayor Thomas A. Masters.
Oh, you can't watch it on television and try to listen. It's behind.
And the phone, and just listen by phone.
We have Commissioner Battelle is attending via phone. We're just working out the technical issues.
Is she here?
We don't hear it, so she must have heard something.
Okay. Our third workshop is...
She can. Councilwoman Botel?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our third workshop is proposed for August 22nd. At that workshop, we will review the complete draft budget, and we will have presentations on affordable housing initiatives, the Clean and Safe program, as well as our event schedule for the coming year. And the planned budget review and approval date for board's consideration is planned for September 13th, and we always reserve the second date in September in case we need to make additional changes per board direction. Tonight's agenda, so we'll begin with capital projects, reviewing the existing projects that we are currently have underway, and then discuss the proposed projects that we are planning in the future. We'll also discuss redevelopment program initiatives, as well as our economic development programs, followed by city and CRA coordination projects. We have some new projects that we will be working closely with the city on that I will give a brief presentation on, followed by opportunity for board to discuss comments and provide research questions or let us know of your additional priority items that you'd like incorporated into the final draft budget. Our revenue for this year, it went up approximately just about 1%. So our increment revenue, which is a combination of from Palm Beach County and the city of Riviera Beach, will be approximately $8.53 million. We have planned a transformative year for the redevelopment agency with initiatives throughout the CRA, in our neighborhoods, along our major corridors, as well as in the Marina Village. First, I'll start with an update on our capital project implementation. From this current year, our project that is currently about to become underway is the removal of the seawall, the upper seawall from the promenade. This was originally built to comply with FEMA regulations. Those regulations were not implemented. I believe they were blocked in the courts and then rolled back. And we would like to take advantage of being able to remove that seawall to enhance pedestrian views of the marina of Peanut Island and our waterfront.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Davis is on the dais. Thank you.
The contract for that project the bid has been completed, and that will be coming back before this board at our regular meeting on August 22nd. So that's next week. And that project came in at a capital cost of about $282,000, including contingency. The public art murals at the marina was another project that is now in progress. We're coordinating with the utility district on the implementation of painting of the water tank, as well as coordinating and preparing the wall surfaces for the other areas that will receive murals. This year we also enhanced the children's water fountain. This included upgrading one of the pumps, which had failed, and that made the fountain a little bit more powerful. And we were also able to implement a system that allowed the water to go up and down, and that has now been completed. We were also completed rooftop bar enhancements. This is the area on our Gulfstream patio, and we added some counter space and improved the finishes of that space so that people who are renting it have a better facility to use. We have also completed temporary parking lot enhancements on Spanish Courts. We are in need of temporary overflow parking at the marina, and we've added spaces now on Spanish Courts along with temporary lighting as well. The one project that is on hold from this year's budget is the outdoor shade improvements to the Gulfstream patio. This project's been bid 3 times. However, we've been unable to get 3 bids or what we feel is appropriate fair pricing. So we will bring this back to you later in the year with an amended approach. The public art murals along Broadway and Blue Heron and on Singer Island are also in progress. In September of 2018, we'll be continuing our project, which is located on the northwest corner of Broadway and Blue Heron, which includes enhancing the corner project with a new city entrance sign and beautification, as well as putting out an RFP, which is planned for October of this year, to find a small business operator at the old Dairy Bell site. And these are the plans that were approved at the most recent board workshop. This includes the nice new corner redevelopment, which will really enhance this corner. It's one of the major, most busiest intersections in the city. And this would feature a city entrance sign, a small water fountain, which is protected from anyone being able to go in it, as well as some hardscape, which would enhance the corner. We would also redo the parking lot, which is quite dangerous in its current configuration, and redo the area around Dairy Bell to make it suitable for a new small business owner to be able to move in. The timeline on this project is we'll be bringing you construction plans, a contract to design the construction plans for this project at the September CRA board meeting. So we're excited to bring this new project forward, and the capital cost of construction would be included in this year's budget. Another continuing project is our utility burial project. We currently have a series of amended interlocal agreements, which are about 4 to 5 years old now with the city's utility district. And we're going to, because this project was delayed and is now resuming, we're going to update those interlocal agreements by bringing you an updated contract to the CRA board. And this will be ready in October, November. I would just like to say that this project has a couple of enhancements that are awaiting. The Florida Department of Transportation has planned and funded future decorative pedestrian lighting, which would be installed on the east side of Broadway once the power lines are removed. So the power lines would currently be in the way of the lighting. So once that project is completed, the FDOT will schedule to come in and add that. And of course, that will add additional safety and beautification since they're decorative pedestrian lights to Broadway. So that's an exciting addition to us being able to complete that utility burial project. The proposed projects in this year's budget would be to issue new CRA debt in the amount of $8.5 million. This additional debt service would allow us to purchase property located at Broadway and Blue Heron. It would also allow us to make the capital improvements on the other side of the street and to make renovations to the facility. That proposed contract is proposed to be brought to this board within 1 month. And the rehabilitation costs, the CRA is looking at moving our offices to a permanent location that we would own, as well as looking to create a business incubator, as well as some other additional office space at the site. And we've also been in close communication with the city, and if they have additional space that they may need for city departments as they grow or change their operations, we will also consider incorporating them into the new facility also. We have also programmed to propose the remaining balance of the $8.5 million to the Avenue E construction project. This would provide the funding. We believe that this could be a joint project, so it would be a combination of the city, the CRA, and the utility district to rebuild the roadway, rebuild the utilities underneath that require updating, as well as to provide sidewalks and decorative street lighting in the Avenue E corridor.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Davis, you're recognized.
Mr. Evans, on the Avenue E road construction, have you had discussions with Commissioner Hubbard in regards to the funding that the TPA that we had years ago prior to her coming on that was given back, potentially going back after that funding?
Yes, we previously had a grant for the decorative lighting component. So once we have that project back moving forward, we will work with Commissioner Hubbard to get the MPO to reallocate those funds. And they did indicate to us originally that they would be open to reallocating them. So we will follow up through Commissioner Hubbard with that group. We also propose to reserve $1.5 million for the public development components of the Phase 2 of the Marina Village. This dollars could potentially go to parking garage or to improvements that the board would like accomplished as a part of that redevelopment. And those dollars would simply be reserved and available for the board to implement once you start to negotiate. And we can bring you some proposed development agreement components to consider in the coming year. And the remaining $1 million we would propose to apply to the Renaissance Affordable Housing Project. The county has come out with some programs. This year we were waiting for similar funding to what our project that we completed a couple of years ago. And the county did come out with some funding that the CDC is able to hopefully take advantage of, or it's coming out very soon, we hope. However, for the CRA, we're going to have to use their existing home programs. And so these dollars would help us increase the number of houses that we can implement. And we would funnel that primarily into our infill housing and construction within our interior CRA neighborhoods. And of course, that project and its implementation would all be a future agenda item for the board to consider.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm just throwing it out there for whatever it's worth. With your housing project, and we know that's one of the goals of CRA to get rid of blight in the area. I know Stony Brook is not in the CRA district, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. If it were in the district, I know you said there was 3 entities that could work together on some of these projects, like housing, like the county, city, and the CRA. And I'm just throwing it out there just for the concept, just in case if we don't know where the Stony Brook thing is going to go. But if that project or that those buildings were in the CRA district, could any of the monies be used for affordable housing in that location? To fix it, to do anything, any kind of rehabbing, or just asking a question because I don't know.
Well, if it was used for affordable housing, it could be used anywhere in the CRA, but since it's not currently in the CRA.
Okay, I just wanted to put it out there. Just food for thought. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor. Let the record reflect that Vice Chair Hubbard is now on the dais.
And this is a concept rendering to modernize the existing building located at 2601 Broadway. It would include changing the facade of the building, and I encourage you, this is sort of a change of all the materials. The old brick would be covered by new stucco. The colors, of course, would be subject to future board consideration, and so I encourage you not to think about this creatively, because of the actual colors that we finally implement can be changed. But we really think that this building has really great bones, and that it is built exactly in compliance with the future zoning that we established along Broadway, which is to put the buildings closer to the street, which creates a safer, pedestrian-friendly environment. So this proposal would be to modernize that existing building, and we think that it would, since it's the most busiest intersection in the city, that this would go a long way to enhancing the look and feel of Broadway and start to establish our new vision for the corridor. The previous new debt that I referenced, the $8.5 million, is shown on our total debt service chart here. Our current debt service is approximately $3.2 million, which is well under our $8.5 million annual revenue. And the proposed new debt would add an additional $670,000 per year approximately to the debt, and that would bring the total to $3.872 million. The issuance of the new debt, we are proposing to bring that back to an accelerated fashion, which would allow us to aggressively purchase the building I referenced earlier. That redevelopment initiative, we would bring you that new debt proposal in October for approval, and that would be both to the CRA board and to the City Council. So this is another item where we'll need to bring that to both boards. Another joint initiative is an update to the CRA plan. As you know, every so many years that go by, we need to keep our CRA plan up to date with all of our initiatives, our future projects, because it's required to reflect how we spend and invest our redevelopment dollars. At the same time, the City of Riviera Beach is required to do a comprehensive plan update, and we'd like to take advantage of and help the city and work together to both update the CRA plan and to redo our comprehensive plan, our land use, and our zoning. The update would include our future marina development. We would propose to do a new vision for our Broadway corridor, and we would like to revisit, we're proposing to revisit two of the CRA expansion areas during the update, which would be the Riviera Beach Heights and Singer Island. And the Riviera Beach Heights, the CRA already has the Riviera Beach Heights neighborhood within our plan, and we would just extend the boundaries to include 5th Street to First Street rather, and across Australian Avenue, which is the natural boundaries of the neighborhood, as opposed to just the current boundary, which is sort of an arbitrary boundary that cuts through the neighborhood.
Vice Chair, you recognize.
You were saying to work with and to help the city with its comprehensive plan in relationship to zoning. Exactly what are you thinking with that?
So this would be an interlocal agreement with Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. They are the drafters of our current CRA plan. And the last time that we worked with them, they drafted our CRA plan. They also updated our land use and zoning. And the City of Riviera Beach Development Services is currently, they're required to go through a process to upgrade the CRA, the comprehensive plan rather. And since we're going to have a variety of workshops, and the workshops would all be held in the various neighborhoods that are affected, we would be able to both update the CRA plan, update the city's comprehensive plan, and then also go through a visioning process for Broadway and the Ocean Mall area, all in one comprehensive update.
Over, I imagine, if you would, for the last better than 12, 13 years, we've been dealing with Treasure Coast. And my concern with that is if we're trying to move forward, change courses, we continue to use them, and I think that we should look at other firms that could be progressive, more ideas, have a cleaner, fresher look on Riviera Beach, not someone that has still ideas, not saying that Treasure Coast does, but have a made-up mind about Riviera Beach on the whole. There was a group one time that was over at the CRA's, at the event center, and everybody was coming through kind of like a charrette, and it was more about transportation. And do you remember what I'm referring to? And they were asking people to come in. They talked a lot about transportation as a overall. As a matter of fact, the Delaney lady
Yes.
works with them now, as opposed to.
Well,
I
do
can't
know
remember the name of the company.
the
Still with
Kim Delaney is actually a member of Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council.
Now she okay.
Yes, and they have they've actually expanded their operations. They have a variety of they work with a variety of private consultants. So we would be looking for our interlocal agreement with them to include some private market, private sector partners who would have experience directly in development. So that would
And not taking anything from them. And we were the beneficiaries of when they did the first charrette for us, that we learned a lot about development and master plans. Again, I say for this period of time and these long years, I think we owe it to ourselves to get a fresh look on things, and I don't think that they're going to bring that to us.
If we, I will just add that if we do not use Treasure Coast, the city put out a comprehensive RFP to find someone to update their comprehensive plan and to do visioning, and they didn't get any responses at all. We can issue a new RFP that would add about 6 months before we could even begin that process to study the redevelopment areas. And if I could just add a couple of other, just to highlight, this would include the Singer Island expansion area.
I was, excuse me, I was not quite finished with that thought, but I know a lot of times we say that it would take 6 months for this, 8 months if we don't go with these particular people, and that alone causes pause. I just really think that we owe it to ourselves to move away from the status quo with this company and get some more feedback for another company to come in, especially when, with the type of money we're talking about spending and the things that we're trying to do.
Okay. Well, I can bring that.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Botel, you recognize?
Thank you. I attended a presentation by Kim Delaney at the North Palm Beach Chamber.
Commissioner Botel?
Yes.
You were going in and out. Go ahead, try it again, please.
I said I attended a presentation by Kim Delaney at the North Palm Beach Chamber, and he told us about the work that their group had done with Palm Beach Gardens as well as Lake Park, and I was extremely impressed with the work they did. I don't know about what they've done with Riviera Beach past. I have to say that the level of expertise and creativity that they brought to those two projects, which, as you can imagine, were quite different, was very high, very professional, and I would think that we couldn't find a better organization to work with us. I would hope that same for us as done for Lake Park and for Palm Beach Gardens.
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Hubbard, you're recognized.
I don't know if at that time she was presenting for or with Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, but as an individual planner and person in the field, I find her very competent as well. But if she is working, you know, with Treasure Coast, we're talking about two different things here, and I can see why you would say that she is quite the consummate professional, because she is. I just don't think if she's a sub with Treasure Coast now, then or working with them now, what we get in Riviera Beach from them is not going to be what I think all that we could get.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Davis, you're recognized.
Just to piggyback off what stated, yes, Treasure Coast has done a wonderful job. But what I do recall, approximately back in 2014-15, there had been some discussions across South Florida with South Florida regional planning about the fact that South Florida demographics is changing. The old Florida way is going away. You have numerous languages, people moving in from all over the country, and there's other planners who have that diversity attached to their future and their vision. And with that, you see a lot of people across the South Florida region looking at these other agencies, not saying that Treasure Coast can't do it, but that has opened up the dialogue and opportunity for other cities like Riviera Beach to see, do you want to stay like the old Florida look, or do you want to change before as Florida changes to the demographics of you got the millennials, you got the Haitian American, you got the Hispanic population, you got the Russian, you got people coming from all over the world and speaking multiple languages, and their visions and how they're going to spend money and how traffic is done with the TPA, and that's why we went from metropolitan to TPA. So things are changing really fast, and the question is, do you want to look and see what others are doing? And I definitely support just the conversation of looking at what others have to offer, because Florida's not the same Florida it was in the 1990s.
Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Hubbard, and then Commissioner Botel, you're recognized.
One thing I want to say in regards to Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, and that when we did the master plan with them years ago, we had at the time to deal with FDOT on with the MLK corridor. So we wanted to get FDOT to bring down the size of the road. So we paid Treasure Coast to be our advocate and our professional to go in and fight for us. We fought and we got that 125 feet taken off the first phase of MLK if you're coming off of the Congress area up to the Australian area. That's down by 125 feet because on that phone, we continue to fight and fight to get it done. You would have thought Treasure Coast was working for FDOT as opposed to us when they charged us an additional amount of money to be our advocate. So I have a problem with that, and that's why I say they have a stoic opinion and of Riviera Beach. They're just used to us. We're old shoes to them now, and I just think we need a fresher look as to what we can do, a more progressive look as to what we can do here in the city. And I don't think that they're going to do that. They're going to bring that here to the table as far as we are concerned, where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. If you don't have anything to measure their work by and your vantage point is not that of others, then I can see why one would say, oh, they're great.
Commissioner Botel, you recognized.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
You're recognized.
Thank you. One of the reasons I was impressed with Kim Delaney is that in the presentation she gave about Palm Beach Gardens, she specifically spoke about the fact that Palm Beach Gardens, and this gets to the issue that Councilman Davis was speaking of, about different populations and the diversity in communities. Palm Beach Gardens is an aging community, but the dollar base that can be brought is millennial. And what she counseled them to do in her plan for them was to build for the millennial population that's coming in for the money. And I was very impressed that she didn't just take an easy route, just sit back, well, and go on this way and do what it's been doing and build for the 5 and older crowd. You really have to take a look at the millennials and the money base that they bring to you. So that's just my opinion. I know, we can always look at other vendors, but that would be up to God to help us look for someone else. But I was extremely impressed with Kim Delaney. I just want to go back and I think it would behoove us to take a serious look at using them again. And I know that's not the decision we have to make this evening, but take your list.
Commissioner Miller Anderson, do you have any comment on the conversation as it's going regarding Treasure Coast and potentially going out to seek other firms to provide services?
Well, just staying kind of consistent with, when we've had firms that have been around for a very long time, I'm always in favor of possibly putting it out to see what else is out there. We never know what else is out there if we keep sticking with the same one. So I think I may have mentioned this maybe a couple of years back in regards to Treasure Coast. So I would be in favor of going out.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so the Treasure Coast will, if we go out, they will not respond because they only do interlocal agreements. So I believe if there is consensus that we can plan to proceed with this project, which includes visioning for Ocean Mall, study of a new parking garage and development options to promote redevelopment both in the Broadway corridor and on Singer Island. So we can pursue a different process to go out for RFP to find a team of consultants who could accomplish all of those tasks for the board's future consideration.
Thank you, sir. Continue.
There are new tax benefit-based infrastructure grants that we would like to introduce as a part of this year's work plan. This would, once we've established a vision of this board, we would like to then apply that, so any project that falls within the proposed vision plan created by the board, that they would then be eligible for tax benefit-based infrastructure grants. The way this grant program works is it calculates the future value of the new development that they're proposing to bring to our city. And since it meets the vision and it's the goal for development that we're seeking long-term, we would then provide a grant in the form of the tax revenue for the first 5 to 7 years of that project. So it does not affect our existing tax base, and it just is a further incentive to try and enhance and attract the development that the board has decided it desires in that area.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
One of the things that I do just want to insert, because I'm seeing more of this happening, that these new businesses, new developments that come into the city, although I know we have it on the books, but I'm not for sure if anyone is really enforcing it. But many times they don't want to they don't want to advertise in Riviera Beach. So I hope that in the CRA that we're very strong with them, that this is Riviera Beach. And it's not, don't say it's not anything else but Riviera Beach, but a lot of times they'll say Palm Beach Gardens when it's Riviera Beach. They'll say West Palm Beach when it's Riviera Beach. Or they'll say Singer Island when it's Riviera Beach. So I hope as we get these new developments that we would be strong to let people know that, you know, we're doing this for you, we're doing this and that, but we do want you to be consistent with our advertisement policy. I just want to insert that with the different things in the CRA district. We do have language, I think, right?
The city has language that applies to the entire city,
Okay.
requiring that all businesses
Okay.
recognize their location of
Okay.
Riviera Beach.
I just wanted to stress a little bit more in the CRA for them, know that they're a part of the city as well, no matter where you live or do business.
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Hubbard, you recognize?
in the new tax benefit-based infrastructure grants, are those, I noticed you said that those will not affect our current tax base. How will that affect us though?
So the way that that benefit would, and it would be subject to your future approval, but the way those programs work are the new project calculates how much of a tax increase to the overall taxes that are collected would occur as a result of the new construction. And then, so the existing taxes that are currently collected on that property are not changed. They just calculate the difference between the existing property and the new final redeveloped construction project. So you take the difference of that increased value and the taxes that would be charged on the difference are then calculated over a 7-year period, and then through an agreement that money is then provided back to the developer to fund his infrastructure, as long as he's building a project that meets what the board desires and your vision for the Broadway corridor or Blue Heron.
Okay. I definitely, if moving forward with something like that, and I guess I'll have to give it more thought as well as more research, it would only benefit companies that are using local contractors, number one, local GCs and local subs, so that we don't, continue to fatten the frog for, as one would say, that we can create wealth within our own community through positions of leverage as such as this. Thank you.
At our last CRA board workshop, we discussed a new signage-focused targeted facade program. And the direction provided at the last budget workshop was to first bring the plan and the program and then to the board for future implementation. So as a part of this budget, we would propose to create that new targeted plan that really looks at our corridors. And there's some areas specifically along Blue Heron Boulevard that there's a lot of mismatched and older signage. And if we work cooperatively with the business owners, I think that we can make a big change just to the way that our corridors look, just by having all of our businesses build new signage that meets our coordinated plan that sort of gets it all to work together and look cohesive. And that would really help the look and feel of our corridors. Moving to the other CRA joint initiatives, this question then comes back to, if we weren't going to use Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, I would have to follow back up with the city to see if they still wanted to participate, because they are required to do a comprehensive plan update. So I would have to follow back to them to see if they still wanted us to issue that RFP that would include that comprehensive plan. The benefit of having one major firm or one team of firms do it is there's a lot of public and community neighborhood workshops that go into both updating the comprehensive plan and the CRA plan. And we'd like to sort of talk about the vision for the neighborhoods and create those new regulations to try to implement them all in one comprehensive series of workshops, rather than having multiple workshops, because residents have limited time to participate, and if we can get them to come and participate in one combined effort, we think that there's value to that.
And you know, Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Hubbard, you recognize.
and you know, I agree with you, Scott, on that we have to be very conscious of the residents' time in coming out. But I think if we want, I think it's that we have to make an extra effort, and we have to take an extra effort if we want to create viable change that's going to really benefit us. We can do things quick, we can do things easy, and it will be okay. But at the end of the day, we'll get more of what we've got. And in order for us to bend that corner and make a difference and create wealth and inclusion and equity, we are going to have to be willing to take it a little further and a little longer in order to make a difference. And even if even with us doing the same thing the same way, doing it quick with the same companies and stuff, we hadn't, you know, I don't see where the big difference is. So I definitely agree of being cognizant about the residents' time, but I definitely want to work hard to improve the quality of life for the residents. That's, you know, that's the end game.
The additional item is we have a new proposed interlocal agreement that covers just the basic management of the marina uplands, which the CRA is currently managing. So we're proposing to bring this to you in the September-October timeframe very shortly. And that project, that interlocal agreement rather, would just define that the CRA will continue this year and next year to manage the uplands, and just define that the city and the CRA will participate in the negotiations for Phase 2 redevelopment project. So that, because eventually that project needs both CRA and City Council approval. So we're just going to bring that new interlocal agreement before you in the next few months. Another project we're proposing to work cooperatively with the city on is that we have a major empty commercial building Broadway and Silver Beach Road, and we would like to take a joint approach with the city to try and find a potential new use for the building. This could include a potential public food market, perhaps a youth recreation center. It could be a private use entertainment like a bowling alley, or just provide additional incentives to try and attract a private use to anchor the site. It's a critical site, and we would like to work cooperatively to try and get it leased up and active and back contributing to our community and our commercial corridor instead of its current vacant state.
Mr.
Sure.
Evans. Mr. Evans, is this property for sale or lease only at this time?
It's currently for lease. Our preliminary discussions have been to lease the project, but we can also talk about trying to purchase it as an alternative approach.
One of the things that we know we definitely need here in the western part of the city is a grocery store. And I am shifting gears because we have Publix at the base of the bridge, and then the very closest would be North Lake and US 1 or North Lake west of 95. So if we could get some information as it relates to their interest in selling the property. There is interest in bringing a brand to that particular facility, but they wanted to be able to check on the status of the building, whether or not it was actually for sale. Mr. Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I totally wholeheartedly agree with you on this. If we're going to invest in the property, definitely River Beach needs to, from an entity that did not consider our community when it came to those jobs. I definitely would support purchasing it, and we'll be in total control of what comes there and control. Sad because it happened right before Thanksgiving. They made enough money where they could have negotiated between the two entities. You know, they came and told them one day you're not going to be here. It's like 7 to 10 days later they shut down. Yeah, I remember. And to come and allow them to lease from us, I think we just need to be in control and just purchase the building and do a better job with developers or whoever we choose to bring, whether it's a grocery store. I mean, River Beach has been helping other businesses out for a long time, but it's time that we help our community help build businesses and sustainable business for our local community, but not leasing.
Well, I don't know whether or not we have the funds in totality to actually purchase outright, but if there is interest from a chain that wants to come here, we should certainly entertain that conversation if there is an opportunity for us to connect with property. So we should look to have someone come in and purchase it and bring us a grocery store. We don't want to, in my mind, be landlords. I think that we would want to have someone purchase that property and put something that could put our residents to work and to provide a service to us, because we are a food desert in desperate need of fresh food, fresh vegetables, and other items. So that would be my recommendation.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you recognize.
In addition to what Mr. Commissioner Davis stated, I think that we maybe, if we do any leasing, we ought to put something in writing that if to prevent what happened at Winn-Dixie, that if they're going to close, they should at least give a sufficient notice where it wouldn't put a hardship on our residents, our employees. So I think that probably could be workable to look at something like that and see if other cities have anything in writing as relates to these types of large entities that have a tremendous impact upon the city. And two other things, Walgreens did something like that as too. They just closed just like that on Congress and Blue Heron, and a lot of employees were left in holding the bag. And so I think we ought to look at something in writing. I don't want to disrespect the other grocery store. I just can't think of their name. And you young minds know there's another grocery store on Broadway. Save-A-Lot. Yeah, Save-A-Lot. I just want to mention them for the record because they are there, and there are people who work there from our city, and it's a grocery store. It may not be a Winn-Dixie Publix, but we appreciate the fact of their presence in our neighborhood, in our city.
Yes.
Thank you, young minds over there. I knew we had some young minds. Thank you.
Absolutely, we do respect the fact that they are there and that they are providing a service. Mr. Evans, does Winn-Dixie own that building? No. I don't think they own that building.
No, they do not.
Yeah, Winn-Dixie doesn't own that building, so it wouldn't be the same conversation, and we wouldn't be trying to, that they took off. That Winn-Dixie, but no, what I'm saying about they don't own the building, they had to continue to pay their rent for the life of their lease, so it wouldn't be, I guess, the same scenario, so to speak. Any more comments before Mr. Evans continue? Mr. Evans?
Thank you. We also have some ongoing pre-development work. As you know, we have received proposals for the Marina Village Phase 2, and we are looking to bring that back to this board at the end of October for your consideration. In advance, working towards the future redevelopment of the site, we've been working on some pre-development work this year that we will continue. This on the screen above is a section of the Phase 1 site plan that was approved for the project. And right down the middle, near just to the right of the number 9 and the number 10 there, is Old 13th Street. And that actually splits that development parcel, which prevents it from having major development. So to be consistent with both the Phase 1 site plan, with the RFP that the board has issued, and with the master plan, we've been working on developing and making application to the city to abandon Old 13th Street. So that will actually be making its way to the Planning and Zoning Board shortly, and eventually to City Council for your consideration. And again, that's a very key step in creating the development parcels that will be required, that will be large enough, rather, so that we can attract substantial new development along the Broadway corridor within the marina. In addition to that, we're also going to be working on some new pre-development work in the coming year, and that would be to update the land use and the zoning in this area so that we are positioned to attract the new kind of development that the board determines through its negotiation with the future developers to bring to the site. And the land use was changed, I believe, back in 2010. And so we need to make some updates to that, as well as to establish zoning regulations that are positive for the kind of development that you'd like to attract. That concludes the capital and economic initiatives. We're proposing at our next workshop to give you a review of the draft budget final numbers based on your feedback that you've provided today, as well as to do specific presentations on affordable housing initiatives, our Clean and Safe program, our education and training programs that we're planning for next year, as well as our community event schedule. And that would be in advance of the September 13th meeting. And I've also reserved additional time, our last item, which is for you to provide additional priority items you'd like us to incorporate into the coming year's budget, and any other comments you have on the initiatives that I've proposed thus far this evening.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Miller Anderson, you recognize?
I just want to make sure that we can put the backup information on Novus so that we have it ahead of time. You know, just so we have an opportunity to look at it, and especially when you get ready to do the budget with the numbers and everything, put that online.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Hubbard, you recognize?
the large properties we mentioned a couple times that we have in the city are very few and far between. In an effort for us to get a good restaurant, we have none in the city of Riviera Beach, and we have very few large parcels that are left that we could do anything with. And I'm not saying that we will in total keep the cost of them, but we will have at least gain control if we're able to bring a developer in. And the two parcels that come to mind is the Jay's Ministry thrift store that runs from Broadway all the way back to F Avenue. That's a large piece of property that I would like to see us try to get control of, so that we might be able to entice a large sit-down type of restaurant here. And you know, just for example's sake, something like a BJ's, if you will. And the reason I say about that lot is because it can accommodate the necessary parking that's going to be required for a building of that size. Also, I wish we would consider trying to secure 13th and Australia, which I know is outside of the CRA area. I'm sorry, 13th and President Barack Obama Highway.
It is under contract.
It's already under contract. So we mentioned that a couple times, and you know, it's under contract one minute and then it's not. So if it, you know, if something happens this time, I think we need to pay close attention to that deal to see if that's something that we can acquire for ourselves. We talked about I keep forgetting the name of the Extreme Action Park, and they have the old one that is Dave and Buster's. You know, something like that. It has restaurants, activities. It's on the line for Tri-Rail, Bright Line. People will come up to that facility, and we will make money if we take it seriously and start trying to see if the other people don't buy it.
I am, just so that you'll know, I am closely monitoring that, because that is in District 3, and we have been working to try to get some synergy going to bring some type of entertainment to that corner. So I am watching it like a hawk.
Well, I think this is like the second budget workshop and the budget meeting, and I keep bringing it up because it was available at one time and we didn't. What's the guy name?
Let me just bring you up to speed. So Easy Well had it. They
Yeah.
were going to utilize it. They sold it.
Mm-hmm.
The purchaser has since entered into
Into
a
ano-
contract to sell.
Yeah.
So I'm watching and I'm trying to make sure that there is a window where we can jump in. But when we jump in, we need to have some cash in hand and more
my
than a wish and a
point,
desire.
my
So-
point exactly,
Yes,
and that's what I mean when I say seriously,
No.
that we are poised and ready to make an offer and go and get a contract and come, do all the things as a government body that we have to do. But yet, I think we need to talk about seriously getting ourselves poised and ready to jump in when if that opportunity presents itself.
Madam
If
Chair.
it does. Commissioner.
If it does.
Are you done? with your
Yes,
thought?
ma'am.
Commissioner Miller Anderson.
I just wanted to add to the Jay's ministry area that you were speaking of. At one point, I did look into maybe possibly of a Golden Corral or something coming there. They did study the area, but based on the income levels and that sort of thing that they look at to see whether or not it could be sustained, they didn't think it was something that could sustain their profit that they needed to make. And of course, we know many people that go to Golden Corral, so we know the money is there to be made, but they just weren't convinced of being able to see it in black and white. And then also with the Winn-Dixie, I hear that you all are probably more interested in a grocery store coming in, but I did speak with the manager with the Frank Cinnabon, and they were very interested in it. The only thing about it is that they were close to getting ready to break ground with one in Jupiter. And he was going to speak with the owner because he wasn't sure if that would be too close. And he said he's willing to put him wherever. So he was really interested in it. Actually, the guy I spoke to lives in the Jupiter area, so he's familiar with the property. So that's something that we could probably look back to if that is the way the council would like to go with entertainment. If 13th and Obama, doesn't become available. So that's just another avenue, but they were very interested in it. They were going to reach out to the owners of the property. And I'm not sure what happened with that from that point, but I could follow up and get that information to you, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Mayor, you recognize?
Thank you. Mr. Evans, what's going on with the, I don't know what street that is, 14th, 15th, wherever, Damon Beware, the great big building there off of Broadway? And I know that he had an interest in it, and it would have been great for the community, but what's the update on that?
I believe the current property owner has the property for sale now, and they're looking to sell the whole property.
Okay. The other thing is I want to commend and compliment your ambassador program, and I know this would certainly go in hand with Councilwoman Lynn Hubbard's vision of moving in the neighborhoods and beautifying, cleaning up the neighborhoods. And I would like to see the ambassador program expanded more in those neighborhoods on the west side, as much as possible, and then maybe the city can pick up later and expand the whole concept on this side in those neighborhoods that would appreciate seeing these young men coming through and doing the kinds of things that the ambassadors do, not only for the neighbors but for the seniors and other people that live there. They're well spoken of, your ambassadors, and it's good for the city, and it's a good image for the city, and I just wanted to put that on the record.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis, you recognize?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Let us talk with Mr. Evans quite a few times about the expansion of the ambassador program and being a little more creative with it. In the near future, before this budget cycle, we will 12 weeks, I think it's
Okay.
going to really set us apart from other cities. And we look forward to Mr. Evans, what he can do with that program.
I didn't even know that.
Madam
I just,
Chair.
just was in my spirit.
Are you, does that conclude your comment on that matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Hubbard, you're recognized.
The Public Works Department on this side was able to retain the neighborhood attendants that were working with us this summer while we were trying to have 25 of those persons, because on this side, one thing on the west side is we know it's going to be more of a get it cleaned and manicured and then maintained. So we hope that as he beautiful be able to, and then we'll be at a point where we can I guess have people that are just keeping it that way. But right now we're talking about true manual labor, actually cutting, cleaning, and trying to get it there. So that's one thing that I hope that we can continue to try to do, to just get it cleaned and then get it aesthetically pleasing, and then we can have them as ambassadors to maintain it, because right now we got to get there.
Mr. Evans, do you have any other comments for the board?
No, Madam Chair.
Board comments. Commissioner Botel, any comment?
No, thanks. I hope to be back soon.
Recover well.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, any comments?
Yes, quickly, for the residents who live in the CRA district and live throughout the city, we want to remind you that Thursday night we return back to the family and friends here at City Hall. We have a young lady with an 8-piece band, and I've said it on the radio, but she is Aretha, Whitney, and Gladys all in one. 8-piece band. You miss it, you're going to miss a treat. That's Thursday, the 16th at 6 p.m. right outside in City Hall.
Who's the singer this week?
I can't think of her name. It's Shalonda. They've never been to this area.
Oh, okay.
And I think she's from Fort Pierce, and the other city past Fort Pierce, but she's amazing.
Okay.
And I know you're going to be there. You
will.
always are.
I want to tell the public that tomorrow night, the Monroe Heights area and the street work has begun, and we are going to address some of the initial concerns that people have. So we've decided on Friday, when we got some concerns, to have an impromptu meeting. On Tuesday, we tried to pass out flyers over the weekend because we'll be out some of us will be out the rest of the week. Tuesday was the only day. And we'll have several other meetings concerning the road work that's going on in Monroe Heights. But if you have any concerns or questions, please come out tomorrow night at 6:30 here in the council chambers, and we will address that. The same with the Stony Brook situation. We'll have public comments, hear what the public has to say. We will also address the Stony Brook situation tomorrow at 6:30 as well. Here, I'm sorry.
Say the date for people.
Tomorrow, Tuesday, August 15th at
14.
August 14th at 6:30 p.m. They're both at 6:30. Yes, both meetings will start simultaneously at 6:30. We will discuss both issues, the road work and Stony Brook. Tuesday, August 14th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. We're asking you to come out if you have any concerns with the streets or concerns with the Stony Brook situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller-Anderson. Commissioner Davis.
I'm sorry, I do have a question. Are we having another meeting? I know there's a little aside. Are we having another meeting tomorrow
No,
at
we
all?
have no meeting scheduled tomorrow. Commissioner Davis, any comments?
Thank you. I would just like to say to everyone, typically we started 2 months ago, the night out with Councilman Davis on every second Tuesday. But this month, this second Tuesday, I chose to defer that meeting to allow Councilperson Hubbard to have her 2 important critical issues that she wanted to do with the road project and the Stony Brooks community. So I will be in short attendance, but just to defer, just let folks know we will continue every second Tuesday here in the council chambers. But this Tuesday is a special edition we're going to allow Councilperson Hubbard to have her meeting to talk about the roads, what's going on Mara Heights, talk about what's going on in Stony Brooks. Another thing, today I had a wonderful opportunity to visit, tour a lot of the schools and say congratulations and welcome back to the educators and all the students. The first stop was at West Revere Elementary School. The second stop was at Lincoln Elementary. The third stop was at Atkins. And the fourth stop was at JFK Middle School. I will spend the rest of this week visiting each school, just welcoming the students, just saying hello to the parents, and just getting a feel for how the school year is going and how we as a city can help out. So we will continue that effort for the rest of the year. But just want to say good luck to everyone. Stay positive throughout this year. Start the year the correct way, which is just doing the right thing and staying focused on what it is that you have to do no matter what's going on around you. And good luck for this 2018-19 school year.
I'll join you tomorrow, JD, at the school. I'll be there too.
We'd like to take a moment to thank the CRA, the ambassadors, and staff for their assistance on Saturday with the soft opening of the Richard and Annie Brooks Community Center in the Riviera Beach Heights community. Your support is invaluable, as it always is. I'd like to thank staff for being present and helping throughout the day. With that being said, no further business. We stand adjourned.